Hi, welcome to this week's HomeKit Show, and I'm with my co-host Chris, aka the HomeKit Geek. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you very much. Good to be back. Episode 2, excited?
Yeah, very excited. We've got a lot to cover this week. Yeah, there's a lot of HomeKit news. So we're really excited to talk about things this week. We're going to cover this week's HomeKit news, all the new developments and all the things that have been announced, so lots to cover there. Then Chris and I are going to talk about the futures and rumours, so what we're expecting from HomeKit in the short to medium term or possibly long term, depending on how true these rumours are. And then we've got some audience listener questions that have been sent in that we're going to cover off and hopefully answer some important questions from all you HomeKit people. So if we jump into the news.
Eve and Coulisse, the announcement, that partnership, which is a partnership where Eve Home, which is one of the OG HomeKit manufacturers, are in partnership with Coulisse to bring HomeKit support to blinds. So traditionally, I think we've seen Hunter Douglas blinds. We've seen the Lutron Serena / Cassetta blinds. We've seen some lower cost options in the Ikea blinds, although only available in one color. It's definitely the Henry Ford of the blinds. Any color as long as it's dark gray. So this, I think, is a good thing. I'm really looking forward to see what the price point comes in at. If I'm looking at it, it's Eve. That means they're probably going to be thread-based, is my guess. I haven't dug too much into this announcement, but I'm really excited to see, anytime we have more products in a given category, more choice is always a good thing.
These are not going to be sold via the Eve website or any of their other traditional outlet or retail partners. And Coulisse, if I'm pronouncing that right, are also not going to sell them direct as well. They're going to be selling them via their own distribution partners in each country. And from what I understand, Eve are providing the technical infrastructure, if we can use that, and then they're going to be providing the expertise to get things set up. Now, it has been alluded to, these are going to be Fred compatible, as you said. So that'll be really good. And I think they're probably going to be middle of the range. I don't think they're going to be as cheap as IKEA, but I don't think they're going to be as much as the Hunter Douglas ones, for instance. I think they're going to be middle of the range. Looks like a quality product looking at the website. So a very interesting new product coming. And it's going to be great to see more window coverings coming to the market. I know you and I have got the IKEA ones. I'm quite happy with them. I think they work well, to do the job.
I've been quite happy with them. I am still waiting. Is it 2 years already for the semi-transparent, not the full opaque? Still waiting for those to come to market. But who knows? I might by the time I'm ready to make that purchase, might be Coulisse is the product I go with. So in the next bit of news we have is the IKEA Trode-Free line continues to offer us more choice in HomeKit, or at least adds on to some of the existing products. So we saw the IKEA HomeKit, the Trode-Free bridge required for HomeKit support, get upgraded with a new firmware release, which gives us HomeKit support for the motion and the shortcut buttons. Now, I think it's important here that we know that it's the newer generation of the motion, not the older generation of the motion. So if you
Point.
you were like me and have the scars of the first generation IKEA product line, you might not get motions exposed to HomeKit. And I think this is a good thing. This is a big deal for IKEA in general, in that what they call their steering devices. So this would be their motion sensors, their shortcuts, their shortcut buttons, any of their traditional buttons. None of that was previously exposed to HomeKit. So I think this is, in the low expensive, low cost options, this is a great thing.
Absolutely. I think the motion sensors extremely low cost, but the shortcut button in the UK, £6. It's going to be around I think about $7 in the US. I'm not sure what it'll be in Canada, but for that price, it's really hard to beat if you're already in the trad-free ecosystem already. I did a video a couple of weeks ago, or last week I think it was. There's two things that are exposed for the shortcut button. There's a short press and a long press. So you could technically, if you really wanted to, use this as a button to control a set of lights rather than scenes. I think it's great value. At the motion sensors, it's great to see that they're now in HomeKit. I've put one in my ensuite shower room,
Hmm.
and it's positioned in the correct place that it turns on when people come in, but it also keeps it on when people are in the shower because it does have that view. So great to see this. I just I want to see IKEA put more of their products into HomeKit now.
As a tip and trick for the audience, if you create a conditional on the short press, just have it so if you have short press and the lights are already on, turn them off. If the lights aren't on, turn it on. So you can get that actually multiple different usages of that button, right? Conditionals are awesome and definitely something that people should dig into if you haven't already. So next on our list is one which I find interesting. We were actually discussing this last night on Clubhouse on a creator chat. Is the Eve weather. So I think this is if you go back far enough in HomeKit, there was the Eve weather kind of generation one. Then there was the Eve degree. And to me, this seems to be the next logical evolution there of the Eve degree, but it's called Eve weather again. So the branding gets a little bit interesting, but this does seem to be their kind of sensor, which will do, if I'm not mistaken, it'll do barometric pressure. It will do the humidity, temperature, all that outdoor rated, all that great stuff. And it also seems to be that it's going to be thread enabled as well, which means for any of us who have had the Eve degree or older, you had to look at something like the Eve Extend from a Bluetooth standpoint because that's all that device supported. Having thread in this will again be another. It'll be a lot faster. It'll be more reliable. Still great battery life. Excited about this product.
Yeah, we were talking about this actually on the first episode. We were talking about the Eve weather when it was going to arrive. It's going to arrive on the 25th of March. It's going to be $69 in the US, $64 in the UK, and I think €69. It's also going to have a larger display as well. So it's going to be able to display all the metrics on one screen rather than having to scroll through like you previously had to. And
Yeah,
it's going to
excellent.
give a day view as well. So it's going to give a trends based on I think that day or sorry the previous day and the upcoming day based on weather data. So that's going to be interesting. They've also just announced the thread enabled Eve Energy for the US and the UK. It's already available in Europe, but the US one is coming again during March, and the UK one is coming in May. The interesting thing about this one, though, is that the design's not changed. It looks exactly the same, but it's thread enabled, and it can act as a thread router as well.
So
So interesting. But what
uh,
is interesting, though, Chris, and I just want to make this point. We were talking last time about thread endpoints, routers, and all of those
yep.
things. I looked in the Nanoleaf app this afternoon, and all of my Nanoleaf Essential lights are now showing as routers. So there's some change that's happened between the first episode we did and the first video I did, where they were all shown as endpoints, are now shown as routers, with one which is the lead device, which is interesting.
So yeah, absolutely, and that's I noticed the same thing because I'm still trying to get some clarity on what's happening here. For those of you following at home, there are a couple of different kind of devices within Thread, and we're not talking about the border router, of which right now the HomePod Mini is the only version. But you have a full Thread device, and you have really we can just call it the sleepy end device. There's a little more nuance than that, but that's the general way to look at it. So a full thread device, which is a thread router or router, depending on which side of the pond you're on. This particular device is the thing that's going to allow you to do the meshing and be able to push signals, help get things through the network, and really give you that extra reliability. The thread sleepy end devices or SED devices, this is a device which is not going to participate in the mesh. It's not going to make your mesh any better. But what it's going to do is still connect via thread to the closest parent device, which is that router, and then it's going to hop onto the network there. So I wouldn't expect that the Eve weather is going to make your thread network any more reliable. It's not going to help out in the mesh, but I do think that we're going to see that in the Eve Energy. Now, the main thing to look for as a general rule is if it's battery operated, it's probably going to be a sleepy end device, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be the thing, and essentially what that means, it's going to wake up every 5 seconds or some time frame and say, hey, you got anything for me or not, and then shut down, right? Whereas the Eve Energies, the light bulbs, anything that has constant power, for the most part, those are going to be mostly full thread devices, as that's what we're expecting to see. But again, we'll see as time goes on.
Yeah, I think yeah, and that one of the things when I was speaking to Eve, with the Eve Energy plugged in, especially with the weather which is outside, and also the Aqua. If you've got an Eve Energy which is close enough by, it could help with that extension into the garden where the current Eve Degree struggles. My Eve Aqua sometimes struggles without the Eve Extend. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these new Thread devices work when paired with a Eve router type of product. Just to recap, then the new Eve weather is coming out 25th of March, available across Europe, and that includes the UK. That's not a Brexit reference. And the US, and I believe Canada as well, and also the Eve Energy Thread version coming to the US, I think March time, and then the UK in May, along with the Eve Aqua is also getting a firmware update. Now, a listener note, it's only the latest version, so we're going to put a link in the description below to all of Eve's compatible Thread devices. You can click on that and see if your device is compatible. And a firmware update, I believe, is coming in April.
So the next thing that we had on our list was I'm honestly not sure if this should be in the rumors or not. The SmartMi purifier went up on Indiegogo, and this does have HomeKit support listed, and it says it's going to start shipping in March. Now, it'll be interesting to see a few things, given that the project doesn't actually end until April, so I'm not sure how it's shipping before it's actually like is it shipping before the project's over? We'll see if that happens. And as well as a buyer beware to anybody who's been around the HomeKit camp long enough, until it actually is HomeKit, please be aware that you might be spending your money and not getting there. We have seen, especially in the air purifier space, we've seen a bunch of these products in the last couple of years. We've seen the wind purifier. We've seen the Miele purifier listed as potentially having HomeKit. And in some cases, it has been delivered way after the initial release of the product. So I'm not going to say they're never going to get there. But just again, realize what you're getting into if you look at something like the SmartMi on Indiegogo or any Kickstarter project that yeah, they might have the best of intentions, but the Apple HomeKit certification process can be challenging for vendors to get through. So definitely excited about this. This is a much smaller purifier than, say, the VocalLink PureFlow, which was released late last year. I'm looking forward to this. It should be great for a smaller room. I think it's a 10 by 10 kind of area, 10 by 10 feet. So we'll see what happens there.
I'm on the fence with these types of devices, so let me explain why. I think with devices like air purifiers from unknown companies or even established companies, if you buy that product and that product goes, that company goes out of business, the air filters are need to be replaced. So you're pretty stuck. I think with things like lights or door locks or things like that, there's not much that needs to be replaced, or if anything. Whereas with an air purifier, you have to replace them things. But there is one air purifier that's on the market. I forget the name. Or sorry, not on the market, that's come into the market that's got a washable air filter, and that's one that really attracted me because I thought, well, even if they go bust, I can still maintain that myself. I don't have to effectively throw the device in the bin.
So that is a great point. There is the Brid by Atalani. The Brid has been around for a couple of years, and it works perfectly with HomeKit, but they still, as far as I'm aware, have never officially got through the HomeKit certified process. So you can connect it, absolutely no problem, but they're not certified. So just buyer beware there. And definitely when you're looking at things like air purifiers, yeah, these are things you need to consider. So in shifting our gears a little over into software news, there are two particular pieces that I wanted to point out. And one is just a follow up on the Follow the Sun from Matt Corey, who is the same developer who did Signals. So that is now been officially released and it is available in the App Store. This is still one of those apps that I think is just I'm a huge fan. I think it's going to be a big deal. He has been incredibly responsive as a developer. Again, full disclosure, I'm in the beta program for it. I did spend money on it. I have not received anything on it, but he's just doing an awesome job on that. So that is fully available. And what I think is unique about this app is this is the first app that I've seen that uses the always on functionality, that because it's running on a Mac and it's always there, it allows it to do a lot more interesting things on a continuous basis, right? So it's not like when you're on an iPhone or an iPad and only the active app has the ability to influence the HomeKit state. This still works if it's running in your task tray in the background. All of that is there. The other one, which was released, is the controller for HomeKit Mac Edition. Right. So if you've been following for a while, one of the really great full-featured apps, third-party apps by Jean André is, and I can't not do the French side of that, is controller for HomeKit. This has been available for a couple of years, and one of the things that's really unique about this application was the ability to view live the logging of what's going on in your HomeKit home. So if you're trying to troubleshoot things, that's something that is a nice thing to have. So just recently, I think it was a week and a half ago, he completely re-envisioned this app for for your full Mac OS. And beautifully enough, I just installed it actually prior to us hitting record and realized that all that logging is in there. So I can keep all my logging going all day long and not have to worry about having the app again as the active app in my on my phone or in my iPad. So two apps you definitely want to check out if you have an always on Mac. I think it's, again, more choice is always a good thing. So moving into our futures and rumors. So this is where our crystal balls, ear to the ground, and we get a little murky out here, but we did want to talk about this a little bit. So there was some chatter that the Sensibo manufacturer, which as I understand it, they're a manufacturer that helps to kind of control legacy HVAC, home air quality, what do we call the registers, the heat registers, those things. They enable those into more of a smart world, right? So those are supposed to be getting HomeKit. Now, I reached out to Sensibo and didn't get anything confirmed on this. And as well, I looked at their website and there was no HomeKit certified announcement that I saw. So I really don't know if that is something that is somebody just got that wrong. I want to point it out. I don't have any experience with this particular brand. I've got centralized HVAC and an Ecobee thermostat, so not something I could use in my environment, but definitely something of interest.
Know much about them. I saw a little bit about it this week, and I did a bit of research, and like you, I came up with very little on what was happening other than what had been suggested rumor wise. But the other one that's probably is Aqara. I've put out their public quarterly survey, which for listeners that are not aware, there's a link in the description below where you can take part in a survey, provide feedback to Aqara based on products, based on where you'd see them like to go as a company with their services, and you also get a chance to get some free product. Interestingly, in there's a couple of things around a developer mode, which they are looking to open up for their Aqara hub, and they're also looking to open up their hub to third-party manufacturers. So, for instance, Nitu or a vacuum company could potentially integrate with the hub and do something there. Now, it's worth pointing out that any integration that's within the Aqara app and the Aqara ecosystem would not be exposed to HomeKit. So if it was, say, I don't know, a Philips Hue light bulb that Philips Hue decided they were going to do some partnering with Aqara, the light bulb would not be exposed through the hub. So that's worth pointing out. It has to be a manufacturer's hub or a manufacturer's certification that gets them into HomeKit. But the real interesting thing and the real story behind this is there's a load of products listed in there, from pet feeders and a new outdoor camera that is battery operated to rival the Eufy. Now, this could be suggested that these products are, pie in the sky and they may now have no interest, but I have it from a very reliable source that lots of these products are certainly in active development now, maybe going to enter the Chinese market or the international market, but the camera with the battery operated is certainly something they're really considering. So great to see Aqara bringing more products. I'm certainly interested in the pet feeder. I think that'd be a great one. But obviously, again, we'd need Apple to open up more categories and allow those types of devices for them to be part of HomeKit. They'll certainly be part of the Aqara ecosystem, but whether they'll be exposed to HomeKit, I don't know.
So in full disclosure, we have both got gear for review from Aqara before, and I think that's important. People kind of know where we might live. I have been traditionally, I will admit it, I've been kind of a little negative on Aqara in general, in that they have struggled to break into markets outside of their traditional China market space. They've been very successful there, but
Yeah.
it's been tough as an external, North American customer, for instance. We've been able to buy product from AliExpress or GearBest or Banggood or any of those sites, but you didn't really always know whether or not you were getting the Akara version or the Mija or the Xiaomi. Like there was a few different things there. So
Yeah.
I have been cautiously optimistic. I have seen Akara making some strides in especially in the last year, to do a lot better job of making sure they are available directly on Amazon to buy. So there's no buying from these kind of, I don't know if gray market is too strong a term, but
Yeah.
these international shipping. I'm happy with that. I think, yeah, the API thing, where we're going to see that being used, and I think looking at the survey, they actually mentioned this is for specifically for projects like Home Assistant, which means again Home Assistant or Homebridge or Hoobs, as some of the audience might know. This will allow you to kind of go around that Apple certification process and potentially expose your pet feeder, John, as a switch, or
Yeah.
maybe you want it as a dimmer switch where it's 50% food to the
Yeah.
cat. I don't know. So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's going to be good. I will tell you the one I am most excited about on that list is actually the plant sensors. There has been a Mi flower sensor, which used to be available a few years ago, and there really is nothing else in this market right now that I have seen. It's kind of dried up. And as someone, I am biophilic design is a big thing. Having plants all around, I love having that green in my house. Sometimes you forget to water things, right? So having that kind of taken the guesswork out of that for me, I'm excited about this. I think there's a lot of good things in that list, and I'm excited to see them come to market.
I think Akara is one of those companies that some people love, some people hate. Like I get free or samples to review, and I'm certainly a fan of them, and not because of that, because I was very critical about their possible removal of the HomeKit only mode, which
Yep.
I got into an email debate with one of their employees around this, where they were asking why I was making such a fuss of it, and I wanted to understand, and I explained to them, and I said, look guys, you need to focus on the privacy aspect, because a lot of HomeKit users expect privacy, expect that. And I think they're starting to get that actually they need to operate in a different way, and they bring some amazingly good value products to the market. The products do stand like the GH2, or sorry, the G2H, the G2H camera,
The
amazing
Minion camera.
value,
Yep.
great camera, and their sensors are great sensors. So
Yep.
I think they're a great company. It's great to see some of these innovations coming from them.
So the last one on the list here is a not so much a future or a rumor, in that we have been able to confirm that there is a nanoleaf module that was discovered on the FCC database, because that's what everybody does is search the FCC database, right? And what this means is that we could be seeing the ability to add Thread to additional nanoleaf devices. What do you know about this, John?
So it was a guy called Adam who tipped me off. I can't take any credit for finding this. I actually had a quick chat with him about it and said, you must monitor this, because he sent me a few now on the FCC.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam. Big shout out to you. Interestingly enough, though, nobody else has reported on this. So either everybody else, because I have no working relationship with Nanoleaf whatsoever. That's one company I just don't speak to. Never reached out to me. I've reached out to them, and we've had brief chats, but so no one else has reported on this. So it could possibly be a product that's coming very quickly, and it could be under embargo because nobody else has even picked up on the story, and it is an interesting product. It looks like a module that will either be in a new product, or it will be something that will be able to be retrofitted into existing products like the canvas or the shapes, those lighting products, to enable Thread.
Mhm.
It's Thread, and it's also Bluetooth. Nanoleaf have already indicated previously that they are going to be launching their future products all with Thread support. This is possibly a way to retrofit those products, because I couldn't imagine Nanoleaf bringing out a new version of the canvas or the shapes or anything like that when they've only just released them in the last couple of months.
So
And
I would have to go back and look, but something tells me that one of those, maybe it was the canvas or shape. So one of them had a thread radio. It was like announced as thread ready or something like that. I could be making this up, but you're totally right. And if you look at the architecture, the hardware architecture they have, if you played with the Nanoleafs, they have the little connector piece. And one of the things is it's the same connector piece, but the controller that does all that, you can move the controller all over the place. So in theory, this could definitely be, they could just create a new controller, launch that, you replace your older controller with a new controller, and you're now thread ready. And with that, this is a beautiful, beautiful segue because I think with all this talk that we've done about thread right now, we can go to our audience question. So John, do you want to read out the first question?
yeah, so I had someone reach out to me and asking, should I change my U devices, and I assume the lights, for Nanoleaf Essentials with thread? I'll go first and I'll give you my view. I think if you've already invested in U and you spent all that money in U, just I would not swap them out for a Nanoleaf Essentials. Not because the quality is not there, or not because the product is not as good. I think certainly the light strip is just as good. I think the bulbs are near enough. As I said in my reviews, I think they're really good quality. But if you've already invested in U, why would you, in the UK, they're about £50 for a colour bulb? Why would you do that? I just think it'd be, unless you've had them for say 5 years and they're becoming end of life, which they shouldn't be anyway, because they should have about 25,000 hours. So unless you've got a fairground and you've got these things on all the time, you should have a good few years left in them. I wouldn't just swap them out for thread. I would, however, for other manufacturers, and I think it'd be unfair to name them, but I think in one of my videos I actually said which manufacturers I've swapped them out for. I would swap them out for them, because, but certainly not for you. If you've already invested in you, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it just for thread support.
There's a couple reasons why I'm actually going to say just no, don't do that. Do not swap them out. I am not particularly sensitive to the differences in bulbs. I do have people in my life who are happy to tell me that it drives them nuts when it's like 2 degrees off when bulbs don't match. One of the reasons you pay a lot more for Philips Hue is the quality of their and the general QA of their manufacturing process means that when they deliver new bulbs and they say it's 2500 Kelvin, it's 2500 Kelvin and they match across the board. In some of the lower cost strips, one of the reasons you'll see that is because they don't quite have the same manufacturing quality process. This is not to say they're bad. It's just a different device. Right, so what we have seen is there's some variation in some of the Nanoleaf bulbs, a little bit. I personally would not notice at all, but that is something to consider. If you have a kitchen setup where you want all of your devices to be very much the same exact hue of white, then you probably want to stick with your Philips Hue. One of the other things to consider here, again, this is all about, we're coming back to that theme of the year, is intentional design. What's the use case? The Hue devices require the Hue bridge, and with that Hue bridge, you get some additional things because you've got now a control point to be able to do some interesting, the Hue Labs, there's a bunch of interesting things you can do there. If you go to the Nanoleaf products, the hub function, really, it's not like these are hubless. Let's not mistake what this actually is. It means the hub function is actually your HomePod Mini. So they're going directly to the HomePod Mini, which means that you are now restricted to only the features that you're going to get out of the HomePod Mini, right? So if you've got the Hue devices and, for instance, you want to do the HDMI sync, the entertainment piece, then you got to go for Hue. You don't have a choice there. But John, I think to your point, if Hue devices, probably not. I wouldn't look at that. There's going to be no benefit. Zigbee and Thread, and I may be saying something a little heretical here, but they're essentially the same thing,
Yeah.
right? They're very close to a similar experience, built on the same radio types. You're not going to see a huge benefit. On the other hand, if you are using Wi-Fi bulbs or Bluetooth bulbs, that's absolutely something that I would look at from a Nanoleaf Essential standpoint, at replacing those as they come up. If your stuff is working, why are you going to spend more money on it? That really fundamentally, that's the question. Second question that came up, which I find a really interesting one, and this might be something we want to dig into on a future episode, is when should you consider deleting and recreating your HomeKit home? So the context here is Somebody reached out to me on Twitter and they're having issues with their HomeKit Home. They are seeing the dreaded unresponsive device. They're seeing the loading accessory screen, all those kinds of things. So when those things start to happen, you start to ask the question, is my home corrupted? Like, what's going on here? So the first thing I would say is number one, reboot all of your HomeKit hubs. Right. Typically, that points to a iCloud sync issue, and I can say this with some authority because I've been through this road a couple of times now over my 4 or 5 year stint with HomeKit. I have rebuilt my home at least. I'm on my third iteration. So number one, reboot all your hubs. That may force them to resync and may clean up some of those issues. If that doesn't work for you, you have a step two, which is to actually log out of your HomeKit account on all of those devices, or out of your Apple Home account, which is associated with your HomeKit Home on all your devices. Wait about 20 minutes, log in on the first device. Wait 20 minutes, wait for that to sync. Again, this becomes a database synchronization issue. So that all of that, those are steps you can take before you do the full recreation. Now, if you've gone through those steps, or if you just think your house is a complete mess and you want to do this, absolutely, you can recreate your home. And there are some things you can do around kind of fast tracking the process. For those of us in the Philips Hue camp, there are a lot of people who have realized that the way that the Philips Hue app works, it will rewrite over and overwrite the names of your HomeKit devices. So you get in this battle. I can tell you, some people consider that a bug. If you're rebuilding your house, that's actually a feature, because if the first thing you add is your Hue hub to your HomeKit Home, it will automatically recreate all the rooms you had previously. So if you are enjoying the setup that you had and you just want to get up back and running quickly, the Hue hub, awesome way to go. Which actually, I will tie this back to the Nanoleaf feature. One of the easiest things when recreating my HomeKit Home was adding the Hue Hub, because with one connection, one discovery of the Hue Hub and connecting that to HomeKit, I suddenly had all the Hue light bulbs I have, the Hue LED strips, all the motion sensors, all that stuff came back in one go. That took me literally less than 20 minutes of putting things in the right rooms. If you have Wi-Fi bulbs or Thread bulbs, this will be the same experience. It is not a hub where everything will get synced back in all at the same time. You're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to do each one of those individually, which is not the most fun thing to do, a fun way to spend your weekend. Definitely things to consider. I don't judge either way. There's a point where, like we just said, sometimes you want to do this just because it's easier to blow everything away and start over.
If you've got a lot of devices, or you've got a number of devices that are no response, the dreaded no response, I would identify how those devices are connecting. If they're connecting via Bluetooth, then it could be possible they're not close enough to a hub, a HomeKit hub, for instance. Try and bring them closer before you press the nuclear button and destroy your HomeKit Home and have to rebuild it. Also, if the Wi-Fi devices, have a look, see if your Wi-Fi network is maxed out. I found that using my ISP router, it was I would get devices if they were a long way away. Since I've put the VLOP in, I've had no issues with any no response on my network. So try those two things.
Absolutely, that's a great point. I will do a shout out to Eric over at Modern Day Tech, who did a top 10 things to consider. And his number one is make sure your network is solid. If you are using your ISP's router, it's given the router that's provided to you by your service provider. Chances are that's not the one you want to be using with HomeKit. Now, again, another good reason to go towards Thread is that router will no longer be involved in the process. And with that, I think we're at the end of our list. So I will ask you, John, what are you working on this week?
I am currently designing my new studio and entertainment room on a app where I'm designing where things are going to go. So where the unboxing table is going to go, where the recording area is going to be, where my Xbox is going to go, where my TV is going to go, where all the lights are going to be, the wiring, all of those great things. So I've got that on. I've also finishing off on a review as well, so that should be coming live this weekend. What about you, Chris?
I'm just going to say that sounds like bringing a new kid home from the hospital. Like that just sounds like a wonderful place to be. I have just finished up, and I'm actually releasing a video on that this weekend. I'm almost at the end of my entertainment area, the journey that I've been on for about 4 years, which is, slowly replacing components, the audio, the video. I've got everything, the Hue HDMI sync. as well as my Sonos. I just put in a Sonos Arc replacing my Beam, and really I've had that going on. So I am really happy that that journey has come to an end. I'm still waiting on those IKEA translucent blinds. So hopefully we'll get something there. And other than that, I am kind of stepping back a little bit and looking at my automations in general and seeing how much I can convert over to the more intelligent automations, convert to shortcuts, which has been just a blast. I have gotten about 5 automations for a bathroom down to a single automation using conditional logic. So more content on that to come soon, but I'm having a blast just like, how do I simplify my house? For the audience out there, if you guys want to leave us comments, contact us, Twitter, video comments below, reviews, 5-star reviews, 10 star. Is it 10 stars? What are we supposed to do now? 15-star reviews. All that is appreciated. I will also say thank you for the audience. Number 1 for listening. Number 2 for letting us know that my audio sucked last week. So we're trying to get that sorted out as well. Audience feedback always, that's why we do this. So thank you to everybody for listening, and looking forward to the journey.
Yeah, that's a wrap, as Chris said. Thank you very much for listening this week. It is greatly appreciated. Everyone that listens, everyone that comments, likes, sends us feedback, really is appreciated. Don't forget to head over Chris's channel, HomeKit Geek. There's links in the description below which will take you there to his Twitter and his YouTube and everything else that he's got. And yeah, thanks very much. We'll speak to you soon.